Hi everybody, I'm Rob Raybon, and on today's video we're going to talk about car mounts. For the last few years I've wanted a good car mount rig where I could actually do video off of a car and film another car. Back in the day we used to just hang out of the side of cars and take rolling shots. But as I get older I don't want to risk falling out of a car, and I don't like getting tickets. And if you're at a big car event and you get pulled over for hanging out of a car, you could go to jail potentially. I know some people hang out of the side of minivans and out of the back of minivans, and that works great. But there's got to be an easier way. So with movies and Hollywood productions, usually you have a big roof mount car rig. I got to see a couple different styles at SEMA, and those things are just way out of budget. They're thousands of dollars. Plus you have to have a vehicle that is going to have that rig on it specifically. You can't really daily drive that car, or you're going to be taking the rig on and off of the vehicle. And I imagine taking those rigs off is a pretty lengthy process. Today the main focus is going to be on this suction cup rig right here. This is made from Camtree. This came off of Amazon. I bought it for $179. The ball head wasn't included. You just get a bunch of arms and a bunch of suction cups and a base mount plate. So today we're going to unbox this real quick. I'm going to show you how to put it together, and we're going to attach it to one of the cars and see how it works out. And if it goes well with just mounting this to the car in a static setting, we might try to mount a gimbal to this. I have a DJI RS2, which I've had for a couple months now. I haven't been using it much because there's no car events, but there's a couple tricks that I think will work really well with this setup, and it'll give us a really professional look at a fraction of the price of one of those Hollywood car rigs. So let's go ahead and get started and get some awesome video. So one thing that we got special for this project is this camera mounting system from a company called Camtree. This was on Amazon. This kit seems to be a really good bargain. It comes with a lot of stuff, and it was only $179, I think. You get all these different rods. There's 9 of them total. You get a bunch of hooks, some clamps. Then you get these 3 suction cups, which seem to work really well from my initial testing. You also get some safety hooks. I've been thinking these we can maybe wedge in the doors or in the windows, and then it comes with some ropes to tie to the other end for a little bit of safety. Then it comes with this mounting head. All your poles are going to screw into the bottom, and it's got a bunch of different mounting points on the sides and then one through the center. We're going to do a quick basic assembly of this kit just so you can see how it would go together in a normal setup. We're going to start with the short rods and the longer ones. We're going to do 3 of those and then put them on the suction cups with the ball heads and then go from there. The construction of these is plastic. It looked like they would have been aluminum, but it's all plastic with threaded rods in each end and with your female end in the bottom of the rods. It does seem like it's a pretty high quality plastic. The construction seems pretty nice. These don't flex, so I think it's pretty sturdy, but we're gonna find out. We could have made the rods longer with these other long extensions, but we're just going to do these for now just to see how that works out. So now that we got 3 of the rods together, we're going to go ahead and mount these to the suction cups. And to do that, we're going to use these little attachments here. And then we're going to need some of these little wing screws. Do that 3 times. Once that's on, we can attach some of the ball heads. They just screw onto the 1/4 inch output on those connectors. And then this is going to go into the bottom of our rods. Then we'll do that same setup 3 times. Now we're just about ready to attach our big mounting plate. To do that, we're going to take the other 3 ball heads and attach those. There's a few different mounting options for these. We're going to use these holes over here and see how that works out. Now we have a super giant suction cup tripod. Since we're mounting this directly to the car, we're going to try to use a ball head that we have laying around. It's actually the ball head that we have for the slider, and we're going to mount that to the base plate. To do that, it comes with included 1/4 inch and 3/8 screws. We're going to use the 3/8 mount and put the ball head right on top of that. This ball head's really basic, but it works really well. I took this off of my GVM slider that I've had for a while. It's a really awesome slider. But we're going to borrow the ball head temporarily and mount that to the base plate. That way we can move the camera around a little bit. Once we tighten up the ball head to the base plate, we can turn the knobs and actually rotate this around, and it won't mess up the connection to the base plate. This ball head has a bunch of different movements to it. You can even go vertical if you want for all you TikTokers and YouTube shorters. And then our mounting plate comes off, of course, and we can mount the camera right to this. So we're gonna go ahead, take this outside, mount it to the car, and maybe see if we can film a car with it. So for the first setup, we're gonna mount it right to the hood of the Skyline. This is kind of a small car and it's a big rig, so hopefully it's not too much. One thing to remember with suction cups is that the surface should be pretty clean. I did wash the car yesterday evening, so hopefully it's pretty clean still. So this gives you a good idea of what the camera would look like on a chase car setup. I don't really have anything to film right now, and I think I'm gonna wait until I get a different setup on the car. And for the next setup, I kind of want to do it on the rear of the vehicle. I feel like the fronts of vehicles are more what you want to see anyway. So let's try to mount this on the side facing the rear and shoot a car that would be in the next lane over. So what's really awesome about this setup is that it's so configurable. You can shorten these rods down. You can see that we took this section out completely and then just had one of the short rods here and then had a long one going to the top. And with our Sony a7 III, it's pretty sturdy. This is also a pretty heavy lens. Altogether, this is a couple pounds and it's really sturdy. So this angle right here would be a pretty good shooting angle. With the Sony cameras, you can actually use the app to monitor what you're looking at. If we wanted to tilt this out just a little bit, we can do that. The only thing that does suck is that you would have to manually adjust this, either by getting out and adjusting it or driving. The other thing that's going to come into play with this is that you do need some really flat body panels. If you have a car with a lot of body lines like this, it's not going to stick to that. You do need about a good like 5-inch flat surface for these to actually suck onto, but these cups are really sturdy. They're actually a lot more powerful than I was thinking they were going to be. When you get this thing mounted, make sure everything is as tight as possible. Any kind of loose spots is really going to make your video shaky, and that's not a good thing. Those suction cups work really good on flat surfaces, and I so happen to have a car that is basically a brick. So we're going to go ahead and try to mount up a gimbal setup on the wagon. This probably has the softest suspension of any car I have. I think it'll be even more stable. So hopefully this works out and it's not a waste of time. This car is dirty. I haven't washed it in ever. Like since I bought it a couple years ago, I've never washed it. The paint's a little scratched up and everything, and there's some stickers here and there, so we might actually have to scrape some of the stickers off to make this work. But we're gonna go ahead and check it out and see what we can make happen, because I really want to make this gimbal idea work. If I get the gimbal working with the DJI app, I can go ahead and actually move the camera as I'm driving, which would be really convenient for trying to do some rolling shots, but I'm not sure how it's gonna work. Maybe I should just... These will actually stick over top of stickers. They're really strong suction cups. Hopefully the back window doesn't pull out. There's some rust here, so maybe it'll just pull. Who knows? I think I actually am gonna wipe it down a little bit though with some quick detailer, just so it's not sticking to dust. I guess it is pretty dirty. Sorry, Olivia. I'm not sure what this sticker was or is, but it has 420 on it, so I assume that it's something marijuana based. Sorry, stoners. If you're doing this to your car, you might want to use like a rubber wheel, because it's going to scratch your paint. But this car was $500, so I really don't care. But as you can see, the paint's not in good shape anyway. Make sure you don't block your tag or your third brake light. In America, that's very illegal, and you'll go to jail, straight to jail, right away. This one makes me sad because this is like one of the necessary Baltimore hipster stickers, but it's gotta go. Sorry, Bertha. Damn it, I should have just got rid of the muscles part and the apostrophe S. That would have been way more funny. I'm gonna leave the polar bear plunge sticker on here though, because that is a great cause. It helps Special Olympics, which is a really great thing in this world. So if we just wanted a steady setup, this would be pretty awesome for that. We could actually take this a little bit lower if we wanted, but this seemed like a pretty good spot. So this is a pretty good idea of a basic rear setup. It's really solid. The kit comes with those hooks that would hook into the top of the hatch, just so nothing falls off. Camera gear is expensive. So the downside of this would be that you can't really adjust it on the go. You would have to pull over and adjust your camera, change the angle to where you want it. But it's still a pretty solid setup, and it's a lot more secure than the Delkin or some of the other options that we have. So with these mounting positions, I'm going to go ahead and try to put the gimbal on. And we're going to have to take the ball head off and put one of those super clamps on, and then we'll go from there. So this is the DJI RS2. You can see it's pretty standard gimbal. I got myself further in debt in order to get this thing. Probably shouldn't have bought this. I probably should have worked on the 65 instead. But it has this awesome Raven Eye feature that allows me to connect the app, and then you can see the live preview out of the camera. It hooks up to the HDMI output on the camera, goes into the Raven Eye, and the Raven Eye controls the gimbal, and then it works all through Bluetooth. It does have this cool Enable Force Mobile, which when I move my phone, it'll actually move the camera. Pretty wild, ain't it? The Force Mobile thing's cool, but we're just going to use the actual joystick and control it that way. You can also do focus control and active tracking. We're just going to do the virtual joystick. So with the virtual joystick, you can actually control the gimbal with your phone. So what I'm thinking is we can mount the gimbal to the car, and then I can control the camera remotely and have a live view of what we're filming. So if we're trying to track a car and the car is on its way by us, we can go ahead and pan over and keep following the vehicle. At least that's what I'm thinking. With this gimbal and the camera setup, it's relatively lightweight. It's not as heavy as like some of those pro setups, but it's still heavy enough that I'm a little paranoid. So we're gonna try to rig up some sort of safety to this thing too, because this whole setup is not cheap. I probably could have bought another project car with all the money that's spent on this camera gear, but I really like these YouTube videos, and it's a nice creative outlet, and it's pretty fun for me. And I did make a couple bucks last year, so I'm just reinvesting it, I guess. So let's see what we can make happen as far as our mobile camera rig idea.
A little longer than a few minutes later.
So after a lot of trial and error, this is the setup that we have. These attachments came with the Camtree suction cup mounting system. We got all 3 suction cups. We have a couple extension rods, the base plate, the included hooks as somewhat of a safety measure. We have one in the bottom of the DJI RS2 and one into the side of the base plate. Kind of wish I had more of these hooks so I could put another one in the base plate just for another little bit of security. Probably gonna actually get on Amazon and try to find some 1/4-inch hooks just so I can do that. All these holes are going to be 1/4-20, so you can add a lot of different attachments if you want. Could probably even find them at Home Depot. We also used the Delkin triple suction cup mount that we had for a while. We used that as a secondary mounting point. Adds a little bit of sturdiness to everything by putting it on the extension arm on the gimbal. Then we have the gimbal mounted upside down, kind of below her. Kind of wish I would have tried the other side because there is a tailpipe right there, and this car does run a little rich, but oh well. Then we have the Raven Eye setup on the camera. So with the Raven Eye, we can use the app and get a live view of what we're doing. And then through the app, we can use the virtual joystick to control the gimbal. If we want to pan over and look at my trash cans. And we can also recenter the gimbal just by hitting that center cross mark thing. With the gimbal being mounted upside down, it does limit the range of motion for the gimbal going up. We can point it down a little bit further. Kind of want to try to do a little revision of this setup at some point, but for now, we're just going to run with this and do a little test video, see how it works out. Everything should be pretty secure on it. Holding onto the gimbal is a Manfrotto super clamp. These hold on pretty strong. It's definitely not a Hollywood grade setup, but I'm really confident that we're gonna get some awesome video with this. There's a little bit of movement, but overall it's pretty solid. Pretty much the only weak point on this setup is gonna be the hatch. Really don't think the hatch is gonna pop off though. This is a Volvo 240 and they're known to be built like tanks. I think we're safe. You can see that the other end of the safety hooks are going into the hatch. These are pretty nice. They actually ratchet and they have like a release on the backside. The hook seems to be the weak point on these though. Not sure what the weight rating would be on these, but they seem solid enough that if this all collapsed, I'm pretty sure this would hold on to the gimbal unless it popped out of this hook. But yeah, that's our basic setup on our Volvo 240 wagon. So with this setup, there was a little bit of limit on the vertical axis. If I would have angled the gimbal out just a little bit, I think it would have gave it a lot more movement and it would have been even smoother. But overall, it's really smooth. Also, the roads in my area got really ravaged by the winter time, I guess, because they're really bad right now. I guess between freezing and thawing and salt and everything, it just messed up the roads even worse than they normally are. But overall, it's a really smooth look and I'm pretty excited about this. And I can't wait to use this on some more projects of my cars and maybe some other people's cars. Yeah, it's a good looking car. Maybe she'll do a burnout. Probably not. Since there's so much traffic out, we're just gonna go home because I think we got enough footage to show you what this looks like with this setup. I'm gonna be doing some reviews soon, so you'll see more of these rollers. This isn't really necessary for car video. You can also just take a regular GoPro suction cup mount and get some pretty good video that way. But I really wanna have my nice Sony mirrorless cameras mounted on the car. The quality is gonna be better and you can do some color grading and stuff that you really can't do with a GoPro or an action cam. Also, you can change lenses and it gives you a variety of looks if you wanna shoot something a little bit closer or wider. So that's it for the video. I really appreciate you watching. If you wanna purchase any of these pieces of gear, I will have links in the description below. If you do decide to do any of these ideas on the street, please be careful and don't hurt yourself or others. Make sure that your camera and all your gear is secure when mounting it on the outside of a vehicle, and don't break any kind of traffic laws. And also, last but not least, please have a fantastic day.